Hello, hello. This is the My Artifact episode number 3626. Today's date is October 5, 2025. It's been almost like a night at 9:32 p.m. All right, let's just jump directly to the question. Let's go. Okay, question is, what if social media predict your future action? Oh, okay, that's a really good thing. Okay, yeah, good question. First of all, let's just understand what is at least this question and why am I asking this question. This is what if question. What if question is always kind of like a something really like a really good. Like a I don't know why, but it's just like that. Na, ki when I try to ask this question to myself, the question is kind of like a force me to create that reality. And whatever the information that I have, I create this reality. Disclaimer, the information that I'm trying to tell you or the reality that I'm trying to creating is based on information, and obviously the information that I have is not exactly right or it's not exactly wrong either. It's a kind of like a something very raw and unfiltered. So this is what I'm trying to tell you. All right, now what exactly is this question? If social media can predict your future, then what would be that reality? If social media can predict the future, then wait, it's not kind of like a some reality. Like it's not kind of like a things that what if happened. It actually happening right now. What do you mean by it happened right now? Okay, it's not the kind of like a things that you are kind of like somebody expecting. Okay, yeah. Let me give you kind of like a somebody kind of like a somebody figure it out way to understand what's exactly right or wrong. Okay, yeah. Okay. So basically it's this thing. Let's just count 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8. Now, what number did I miss? I missed number 6, right? Okay, now count again. 1, 2, 3. What is exactly number after 3? A 4. What is exactly number after 4? 5. What is exactly number after 5? 6. Why I am so right and you are so right? Like basically is this thing, the answer that I'm trying to tell you, my answer is exactly correct and your answer is also really exactly correct. How this thing is actually happened? Well, it's not actually happened. It's a simple table like 1, 2, 3, 4. It's a counting, yeah. Like basically is 5 is actually kind of like a somebody came before 6, right? 6 is actually came after 5. So it's not kind of like a thing that key like a you and I kind of like a simply right. It's kind of like a simply just a basic mathematics. You and I, everyone knows that thing, right? Now I know, you know, everyone knows that. Na, that's it. Kind of like a simply social media platform are also knows that thing. Okay, but I don't really understand this thing. Okay, if you don't really understand, let me give you the context. Okay, yeah. Now I'm gonna ask one question. What number came after 5? You might guess 6. I also guess 6. And yeah, right answer is a guess. Right answer is a 6. So what exactly is this thing? Is that thing that ki I kind of like a somebody thought that ki this might be a kind of like a somebody answer. And that is exactly answer. By the way, what number came after 5 is a very basic thing. It's a very basic thing. Okay, now I'm gonna tell you kind of like a probability. Okay, probability is a kind of like a something, a chapter that you kind of like a learn in kind of like a something mathematics in kind of like a something 6, 7 standard. Okay, yeah. But still I'm gonna kind of like a something revise you again. I'm gonna kind of like a something giving you a couple of questions, giving you a couple of numbers. You have to give me an answer. What would be that next number? Okay, yeah. 2, 4, 8. What would be the next number? You kind of like a guessing would be 16, right? Yeah, because 2 square is 4, 4 square is 8, 8 square is 16. right? So basically it's a kind of like assembly. It's a kind of like a thing that it's a number system. Okay, by the way, it's not really that kind of like assembly, very hard to imagine, but it's a number system. But what I'm trying to tell you is this thing. Look at this kind of like assembly is this thing that key, what is actually the possible answer? My possible answer is 16. Your possible answer is 16. Okay. So what is exactly is this thing? What is exactly that? What exactly I'm trying to tell you? I'm trying to tell you is that key possible result. What could be the possible result? Now, possible result is just something very different. It means that now you understand this kind of like assembly the number. Now I'm kind of like giving you a reality check. Okay, in real life, what is exactly happened? Now there is a October month. Okay, today's date is a 5th of October 2025. Okay, now within a month means like that next month winter will be started. Okay, so what kind of like things happened? Can you imagine? Winter started, so probably people will gonna buy winter clothes, right? People will gonna buy kind of like a something moisturizer, or kind of like a something the Vaseline, or kind of like a something the winter protection gear and things like that, right? Yeah. So this will actually happen after a month. Okay, I am running a business regarding about e-commerce website. Now what should I supposed to do for this image, for this information that I have? I would kind of like do that key. I would kind of like simply create a sale right now. Okay, that you could buy sweater or any kind of like a winter clothes in half price. Okay, if I do that thing, it kind of like a simply my sale will be kind of like a simply really good. Like basically I'm gonna sell a lot of product, winter clothes products and things like that. Why? Because I know that after a month winter will be started. People might gonna know the winter clothes. People might gonna buy winter clothes, and possibly the at the time when they will gonna buy, everyone kind of like a selling those kind of like a winter clothes very expensive. So people might think that ki within a month winter will be started. So probably what should we supposed to do? This e-commerce website is kind of like a selling those winter clothes in half in price. So I should supposed to buy those winter clothes. So people actually buy your winter clothes. Okay, what I'm trying to tell you is this thing that ki I execute my plan according to the prediction will gonna happen. Possibility what will happen. Okay, understand? So this is called kind of like a possibility that you are kind of like a predicting that what could be happen, and what kind of like a step or what kind of like a way that I should supposed to be do to kind of like a sell my product and things like that. All right, same example as a kind of like a simply 2 4 8 nantar 16. Okay, now this is kind of like a very common thing to you. Now I'm gonna kind of like giving you kind of like a even more complicated example. Okay, now you are kind of like just a normal person. Okay, now what exactly happened that key, let's just say you are a kind of like a something owner of Google. Okay, yeah, you are kind of like owner means like you are chairman of Google, you are CEO of the Google. Okay, now what exactly happened? Okay, like basically this thing, there are a couple of people who are kind of like a something searching for kind of like a something kind of like a something that love and things and that. Okay, like love and things means like that people are kind of like a searching about kind of like a somebody love. People are searching love means like that key kind of like a somebody, they are like a basically love related content. Okay, love song, love images, or couples and things and that and that and that and that. Okay, when there are like let's just imagine there are hundreds of people are kind of like searching about that particular thing. What kind of like some information that I'm getting? I'm kind of like some information that I'm getting that key the previous month people are not really kind of like somebody thinking about that love and things and that. But this particular month, people are kind of like somebody thinking about love, rose, couples and things and that. People are searching about the love song and stuff like that. Okay, so what exactly is this thing happened? Now I realize, oh, this month is a February. Okay, so February is a Valentine month. Okay, so that's why people are kind of like searching for this and that. Now, what exactly happened? What should I supposed to do? I'm kind of like somebody utilize this kind of like something the information to kind of like do something very crazy. What is actually craziest thing that I should supposed to be do? I would kind of like simply sell kind of like simply like basically is this thing. I would kind of like simply that make the entire scenario as a love related. I'm gonna sell kind of like something such a product related to the love thing, like a flower, artificial flower, or kind of like something the like there are a lot of things regarding about love and stuff like that. Okay, yeah. Now, what exactly is this thing that he this is kind of like a something very perfect kind of like a something example. Like by the way, this kind of like scenario would be kind of like something very not easily associate. Okay, let's just imagine that ki you are a chairman of Facebook. Okay, you are a chairman of Facebook. You are the Mark Zuckerberg. Okay, yeah. Now you are the Mark Zuckerberg. People are kind of like a I don't know. This scrap this idea, dude. Scrap this idea. This is kind of like a very wrong. Like I'm kind of like a leading to kind of like a something very unexpected way that I don't know where it leads and things like that. Okay. My purpose, what I'm trying to tell you is that key social media platform are already knew what is exactly you want, what is exactly you like, what is exactly you are interested. That you don't even know that thing. How this thing actually happened? Like let's take a YouTube. Okay, yeah. You search, you watch the video on YouTube. Okay, yeah. When I open the YouTube platform in homepage, it kind of like shows me couple of video regarding about geopolitics, filmmaking, photography, graphic designing. These are kind of like some piece of content, some of the songs and things. Okay, these are kind of like a content that kind of like a shown in my homepage. Okay, because YouTube knows that what kind of like a video that I love to watch, and YouTube is kind of like showing it to me. Now, what exactly happened if I'm kind of like a really interested in film related content? So it's kind of like a higher chances that if someone company is actually kind of like made some sort of camera or lens, then basically I am a kind of like a very targeted audience that kind of like a Google or YouTube would kind of like a target on me, that this person is kind of like really interested in kind of like a photography or kind of like a filmmaking stuff. So probably this person might gonna buy the camera. So basically I am the kind of like a victim, and social media will kind of like a showing me this kind of like ad that Canon camera, this kind of like this is the new camera launch and stuff like that. Like unintentionally or intentionally, if I kind of like don't want it to buy the camera, I don't. But if I wanted to buy the camera, or maybe kind of like a things that the advertisement is kind of like a forcing me to things like that, buy this camera and stuff like that, not forcing, kind of like a showing me multiple times, then probably is this thing na I would kind of like consider to buy the camera, and probably almost like a 50% chance that I might not gonna buy the camera, or 50% chance that I might gonna buy the camera. And this is the possibility that social media plays with that thing. Okay, yeah. That means like I am the target audience. So probably this thing, it's a kind of like a very easy for social media to kind of like a target what kind of like a person you are and what kind of like interested you are. Okay, yeah. Like basically, if you like, do you understand this thing or not? Okay, let's just imagine a kind of like a scenario. Let's just say that there is a kind of like a something, let's just say that makeup. Okay, there is a kind of like a makeup company who kind of like a launch a particular product. It kind of like a showing me at this advertisement. I am not really interested in makeup thing. I am not really interested in anything at all. Okay, yeah. If this advertisement is actually showing to me, I will gonna watch that particular advertisement because I don't really have any choice. Okay, yeah. Because I don't really have YouTube Premium, so yeah, I have to be kind of like watch this kind of like a 10-second advertisement. Then I might gonna skip. Okay, yeah. But let me tell you one thing. Am I be a kind of like a target person that I might gonna buy this makeup product? No, definitely not. Am I be 50% chances? No, definitely not. Because I'm not really interested in this thing. I'm not gonna buy that thing. Okay. So this is what thing it is, na. Like basically is this thing. The social media is a kind of like a way that whatever the product that you have, social media can kind of like a target that product to the right customer. And that is the power of social media. And that is the kind of like a things that it could predict what kind of like a person that you are and what kind of like a product that you're gonna buy and things like that. Okay, get it? This is what it is. Now regarding about what I mentioned, that social media kind of like predict the future, it could predict that what kind of like a person that you are and what kind of like assembly the product that you're gonna buy and stuff like that. Now one of the biggest question that I have to ask, the social media do something like that, is it right or wrong? Well, let me tell you one thing. it's not right, or it's not even wrong too. What do you mean by that it's not right, not even wrong? Okay, let me give you kind of like a two perspective, from kind of like a simply a user perspective and kind of like a company point of perspective. Let's talk about first of all user perspective. A user perspective is that I am a filmmaker person. Okay, yeah. And basically is this thing, I love cameras, I love lenses, I love all those stuff. All right, yeah. Now basically Google or YouTube is kind of like a showing me this advertisement, which I am already interested in this thing, so I love to watch those idea, so I love to watch those kind of like advertisement and things like that. I might gonna buy or might not gonna buy. Okay, it's kind of like their decision, but still what I'm trying to tell you is this thing, that because I'm really interested in things like that, probably 50% chance that I might gonna buy, or 100% chance that I will know about this camera because this advertisement is showing to me. And because of this advertisement is showing to me, I already have an image regarding about that ki Sony is actually kind of like some launch a new camera, and probably I have to look at that thing and stuff like that. Okay, yeah. Now basically it's kind of like a create, it's a plant the seed inside your brain. Okay, it plant the seed inside your brain that ki Sony is actually kind of like a launch particular camera. Okay, yeah. Now what exactly happened, even if I'm trying to kind of like a simply that ki like a basically like basically is this thing, I realized that ki my camera is not really good and things like that, I really know I really need to buy the new camera. And because of kind of like a somebody, Sony is actually kind of like a somebody that ki already launched the camera in couple of months ago, so might be I'm gonna buy and things like that. And I bought the camera. Now let me tell you one thing, I bought the camera, which is kind of like a far good for me, because let me tell you one thing, that the camera is really good, really great. It can kind of like simply satisfied all my needs. All right, yeah. And as also is this thing, because of I'm kind of like a simply seeing this advertisement for a couple of months because I'm the target audience. So basically, I would kind of like do the research and things and that, and then I will gonna buy the camera. Okay, let me tell you one thing, if the advertisement is not actually showing to me, then what will gonna happen? Okay, if like basically advertisement is not actually showing to me, then what is gonna happen, that ki I might not gonna know that ki Sony is actually launching new camera. Okay, I didn't know that. Now basically is this thing, when my camera or when my own camera is kind of like assembly not really working properly and things like that, and I realized that okay, I wanted to buy a new camera, then there is a one question arise, that which camera should I supposed to buy? Okay, now I go to the Google and search about this camera, this camera, this camera, this camera, this camera, and there are so many multiples of camera, then I'm literally confused and things and that, and I'm not kind of like doing the proper research regarding about the buying the new camera and things like that. Or unintentionally I buy such a camera which is not fulfill my satisfying my needs and things like that, and then this might be very crazy thing. Or maybe kind of like actually I buy such a camera with a very expensive or very hefty price, which is also really not that good for me. So what I'm trying to tell you is this thing, because I'm target audience, because I like the camera, and because I like the camera, and somewhat somewhere at the some point some position in my life I might need a kind of like a camera, I might gonna buy the camera. Okay, yeah. And because of I'm target audience, I will get the kind of like a very valuable product in very less amount of price, because the advertisement actually showing to me that you can get this camera with less amount of price, which kind of like add benefit for me. Okay, yeah. So what I'm trying to tell you, as a user point of perspective, I am getting the product that I need and which is really good. Okay, so from my point of perspective, I am the target audience, and I'm kind of like a getting this product and things like that, which is really right for me. Okay, yeah. Now you like this is kind of like a something a kind of like a user point of perspective. Now we are actually talking about kind of like a social media point of perspective. Okay, yeah. Now social media point of perspective is that let's just say a camera company, let's just say Sony. Okay, yeah. Now Sony has a kind of like somebody launch a new product, a camera. Now basically is this thing, Sony comes to the Facebook, comes to the Mark Zuckerberg and says that this is the camera that I want, this is the camera, and I wanted to kind of like simply target this, I wanted to make the advertisement, and I wanted to target this advertisement to the kind of like the right customer. Okay, now I'm the Zuckerberg, I'm the kind of like owner of the Facebook. I'm gonna say that okay, like basically this is the list of the people who are kind of like simply really excited about the film and things like that, so you have to show the camera. Okay, now what I'm trying to tell you is this thing, as a kind of like I'm the kind of like owner of Facebook, So probably I'm kind of like a somebody figure it out what kind of like a some person are kind of like interested in this thing. I'm kind of like showing the exact product that what they kind of like a person that need, and it kind of like a really good. So basically is this thing, it kind of like add value for me. It kind of like something add that ki people are kind of like come into my platform and kind of like somebody buy some sort of camera or kind of like a things that ki the people would kind of like lead, like basically they are getting some sort of idea from my platform. Okay, one thing. Another thing, let's talk about kind of like somebody as a company point of perspective. I am the chairman of the Sony company. Okay, I launch a new product. I launch a new product as a camera. Now what exactly happened that key, like basically I cannot sell my camera to the masses because most of people are not really associated with the filmmaker. People are not really photographer and things like that. So basically is this thing, it is really essential me to sell the camera for the right audience. And basically who has those audience? Facebook has those audience. So basically I go to the Mark Zuckerberg, say that ki like sir, this is the camera that I launch and I wanted to kind of like sell this camera to the right audience. So basically is this thing, I am selling more cameras to the kind of like a right target audience, and which will be kind of like a really good for me, for my company and things like that. So what I'm trying to tell you, in this scenario, as a kind of like a owner of the Sony company wins, owner of the Facebook is wins, also the user of people who are kind of like using the social media also win that thing. So what is actually wrong thing happened? Like there is no wrong thing, it's a very right thing, na? Well, you actually seen only one side of face. Okay, coin has a two side of face, and you didn't really see the second side of face. Okay, let me tell you one thing, second side of face is what is actually wrong thing will gonna happen. Okay, now let me tell you one thing. As I mentioned, I'm kind of like a somebody a person, or kind of like a somebody just a normal person and things like that. Okay, let's just say in social media platform, multiple kind of like some people are kind of like a somebody thinking very differently, thought very differently and things like that. Let's just kind of like a figure it out something way. What is actually that? Now, imagine that ki I am a kind of like a somebody chairman of not chairman, I am a kind of like a somebody is this thing that ki I'm the I'm the kind of like a somebody chairman of like a pawn, or like basic, or not pawn, like a basically just think that na ki okay, it's a very kind of like it's very hard to explain this thing. Okay, um I don't know how do I supposed to execute this stuff. Like basically, I'm thinking about multiple possibility at the moment, but I don't know how do I supposed to execute. Okay, okay. I'm trying to execute this idea as much as rough it is. Okay, I'm not really sure is it actually happen or not, but let's just kind of like execute in that way. All right. Yeah. Now, basically, is this thing what I do? Like basically, it's a I'm I'm trying to tell you a reality. Okay, I seen this thing. It is really dirty, but it's real. Okay, okay. What is exactly that? Okay, what I'm trying to tell you. It's a very kind of like a something very horrific thing, but no, I shouldn't supposed to get this example. It's a very horrific example. No, I don't. I shouldn't supposed to get that thing. Okay, let's take another example, which is dirty, but not that kind of like a dirty. Okay, what's that example? Okay, let's talk about I am the owner of kind of like a something that key, like basically I'm a stockbroker. Okay, I am a stockbroker, and I'm kind of like what I do is that I'm kind of like a somebody. I'm kind of like a somebody, like basically is this thing, I kind of like a somebody sell some sort of stock or buy some sort of stock and things like that, and regarding about margin that I get the profit and things like that. Okay, now what is exactly that I'm trying to tell you? Okay, I am the stockbroker. Now what is actually happened that I am on the social media platform, let's just say I am on Facebook. Okay, and I have millions of follower or subscriber. Okay, now what I do is that there is some random company came to me. Okay, and that random company came and they says that sir, this is our stock. Okay, right now the price of the stock is let's just say $10. Okay, $10 per share. I'm not really sure, I don't know about that, but let's just kind of like imagine that this is the kind of like a somebody company, and this is kind of like a thing that our stock is a $10. Okay, would you kind of like recommend our stocks to your audience, to your Facebook audience, so that basically is this thing, our profit will gonna get kind of like some value. If you not really understand regarding about stock market, I'm trying to simplify it as simple as possible as you can. Okay, yeah. Let's just say I am a kind of like a somebody stockbroker, and I kind of like a somebody I also sell some sort of stocks, buy some sort of stocks, and I kind of like a somebody gain some sort of profit from that. Now I have kind of like a bunch of follower in Facebook media platform. Now usually is this thing, whatever kind of like a somebody, I give the advice to the people who are kind of like a somebody invested in stock, because I already give the advice that which stock will kind of like a somebody rise up, which stock will kind of suddenly not rise or kind of like a fall and things like that. Okay, yeah. And because of most of the kind of like a prediction are kind of like a real, because I'm kind of like a do the study regarding about all the stocks, all the stocks, and kind of like a how they kind of like a happened, the chairman and things, what exactly companies thing happened, like basically all the research that I do, and kind of like I give the kind of like uh, give the kind of like a advice to the social media platform. People are actually getting the kind of people are take the advice, and they kind of like a follow my advice, and they are actually getting the profit. And because of they are getting profit, they are kind of like a things that they like me, they kind of like a things that ki you are the way that you predict, the way that you kind of like do the research regarding about the buying and selling stock, which is really good, so that's why I follow you. So there are almost like a millions of followers that I have. Imagine this scenario. By the way, this scenario is a very real, by the way, very real. Okay, yeah. Everyone are kind of like exist in this thing. Now what exactly happened? Okay, yeah. Now I am a kind of like a doing very right thing. Okay, it's not kind of like a thing is that I'm kind of like a simply just doing wrong thing. Whatever, like basically, it's if the something or something really kind of like a simply the like a losses happen, I would kind of like tell them very upfrontly. Things like that. I'm very honest regarding about I'm giving the advice to social media. I'm very advice. I'm very kind of like a punctual and things like that. Now what is actually happened that ki a random company came to me, says that, sir, this is the stock that we have kind of like billions of stock, and we are kind of like a selling each stock in 10 rupees. Okay, now what is actually happened that key, you have to be convince your audience that our company is really good in kind of like a in sector, let's just say medicine. Okay, like a I am like my company is kind of like from the medicine sector, and we are kind of like we are making really good pharma medicine and stuff like that. Okay, yeah. Now we are kind of like selling this stock. Okay, yeah. And this is really legit company, and basically lot of stuff and stuff like that. Okay, by the way, none of them is true and things like that. I would say that no, I will not gonna say anything, because you are not legit company, your company is very fake, nothing really at all. Then that company is actually offer me a kind of like a money. They kind of like say that, sir, this is your $1 million, take it, take the $1 million. Okay, yeah. If you do this thing, I will give you $1 million. Now let's just say $1 million is a really big amount of money, really big amount of money. So I would kind of like consider that ki, what if I could do this thing? I just have like I already give a lot of suggestions. So and in this particular suggestion, some people are actually getting some sort of losses, or some people are getting profit and things like that. So basically, is this thing, if I kind of like a something the tell the wrong thing, then what could be, like basically there is nothing really wrong, no? Like basically, and basically even if there is a kind of like a something the people might gonna like unfollow or things like that, doesn't really matter, because in the end I'm getting like $1 million. Let's just say $10 million. A $10 million is a kind of like a really big amount of money, that even if I kind of like simply delete my account, still I would kind of like live my life with very luxury and things like that. So basically I would kind of like a fall for that money. I would kind of like fall for that money. Ki, let's just say that, ki, dude, like, yeah, I'm getting that kind of like money and stuff like that. Now what is actually happened that they give me $10 million upfront. Like I didn't really kind of like give the suggestion to my audience, but upfrontly they give me $10 million. Now what I do is that I just kind of like create a particular content. Let's just say Facebook reel. I would say that this is a kind of like a pharma company who has a this thing, they did this thing, that all I kind of like a fake about that company and things like that. Now I mention this company's launch a IPO, and they are kind of like selling this stock in just $10. And because of I kind of like said a lot of good stuff regarding about the company, my follower are kind of like things that, dude, like this is really legit, and let's just kind of like simply buy this stock. So almost like a, let's just say thousands of people actually buy the stocks, and suddenly people actually buy the stock, and kind of like simply the market value of that company which kind of like became really higher, and within a day they are kind of like simply earning so much amount of money and things like that. Now what is actually happened, that company was kind of like a shell company. Okay, yeah, whatever the kind of like some money that they get, they take the money and kind of like leave the stocks and leave the everything, and kind of like somebody, the entire kind of like some stock market is kind of like a went down, and basically this thing, there is a losses of people, like a people actually lost their money and things, and that because people actually kind of like send some money. Now what is actually happened, that people are went crazy. Okay, yeah, because they lost so much amount of money, because the company was really fake, there is nothing really at all. Now I get this advertisement from, I get this kind of like advice from this particular person. Now I search about this person. Now that person is also gone, like basically that particular person actually delete the account. Then basically what should I supposed to do? I lost my money. I don't like, what should I supposed to do? There is no kind of like a report that I should supposed to be do. Okay, yeah. So I'm just fucked up. Now this is a scenario that I mentioned. Okay, yeah. How this thing is actually happened? Can you guess how this thing actually happened? It's actually happened because of kind of like some social media is kind of like you are the influencer, and whatever the content that you make, it kind of like a influence to the right people. Okay, so people who actually follow you, obviously those people are kind of like interested in stock market, interested in share market and things like that. So that's why they kind of like follow you, na, right? And when you kind of like share the wrong details, it might kind of like a very disastrous situation happen. People might gonna lose the money and things and that and that. Okay, yeah. So let me tell you one thing. What kind of like losses that they're getting? Like basically the company, the shell company is actually have a lot of amount of money, because like basically they are actually taking money from the investor and things like that. So they are earning so much amount of money. The person who kind of like somebody share this kind of like somebody advice to the social media, that particular person is also getting $10 million, which had enough money for us kind of like a survive his life for with luxury and things like that. Okay, and obviously he didn't really did any kind of like a crime and things like that. Okay, yeah, like basically is this thing, like basically does it have any kind of like a law that if you kind of like a somebody the getting something wrong suggestion from kind of like a social media platform, so you will be hanged or you will get into jail? No, there is no law, there is no nothing really at all. You might kind of like somebody block the particular channel or things like that, but there is nothing really at all. There is nothing really at all, yeah. So basically it's this thing that I kind of like give the advice. Obviously I know that it's the wrong advice, but still it worth it. I'm getting $10 million, which is hard enough for me. Good, yeah. So who is actually getting the loss? The user is actually getting the loss and things like that. I'm not talking about one and two user. I'm talking about, let's just say, thousands of user. They are kind of like somebody the kind of like a spending. They are kind of like somebody very hard earned money on things that, on trust and things like that. But that trust is actually broken. So do you understand this thing? A social media is a kind of like somebody a positive side too and negative side too, and we have to understand what is exactly we are. Like basically is this thing now, it's up to you that how do we utilize that particular platform. Let me tell you one thing, the alcohol is a medicine, but alcohol is an addiction too. Yeah, this is legit true, by the way, legit true. Like basically is this thing, alcohol could kind of like if you kind of like take a kind of like something in very proper way and things like that. By the way, alcohol is not a kind of like something thing, but still it's just like at some certain kind of like a somebody medicine alcohol might gonna use and things like that. But what I'm like, for the example point of perspective is this thing that whatever the kind of like some things that we have, if you not using it properly, it might kind of like a very disastrous situation happen. A social media, alcohol, cigarette, everything, a woman, everything are kind of like if you're not using it properly, everything is kind of like something very fucked up and things like that. So this is what it is. Okay, yeah. Now I'm gonna kind of like simply giving you a overall perspective. Okay, yeah, about everything. Like regarding about I buy the camera, regarding about people lost their money in the buy some sort of stock and things like that. I'm giving you overall kind of like some perception regarding about a normal people, how they looked at that. Let me tell you one thing. We are human, and we are survive is because of fight and flight response. Now what is exactly that? Fight and flight response means like that कि basically when we see the danger, our body is kind of like a somebody just, if we fight or if we flight means kind of like a somebody just, like basically what I'm trying to tell you is this thing. We are really like basically we just kind of like a somebody, like when we see the danger, we just kind of like a caution, we just kind of like a somebody, we are put a lot of focus and things and that. Why is because of that कि from physical point of perspective we are not good enough. Like basically we can't run like a tiger, we can't fly like a bird, we don't really have fur to kind of like actually protect from harsh environment. So we are always bitterly curious regarding about danger. When there is a kind of like a something wrong thing happen, we just looked at that thing. Okay, yeah. So our mind is always look at a kind of like a, what kind of like a danger thing happen. Now danger at like a basically early stage of life, danger means like that threatening and things like that. But in right now world, danger is converted into the negative. Okay, yeah. So that's why most of people are actually consume so many negative news. Like take a kind of like a news channel always telling that this happened, this wrong thing happened, the people, these people killed these people and that and that and that. They're kind of like a selling negative, and we are really wired to kind of like a somebody see the thing kind of like a wrong thing, and we, our mind is kind of like a made of such a way that we just kind of like looked at the wrong thing and we just picked up that this is the wrong thing, this is the wrong thing, this is the wrong thing. Okay, now what I'm trying to tell you is this thing: the world is not just a wrong thing, it's also right thing too. Okay, yeah. Like basically I get the camera in affordable price. Okay, yeah. As a company get the company get the kind of like some target audience, and they're kind of like selling the money, and they're kind of like selling the product and earning money and things like that. So this is something really good thing happened too, and there is a bad thing happened too. But because of our mind is kind of like a wired in a such a way that when the wrong thing happened, our mind is kind of like things that can know social media is really wrong thing, because this is a lot of stuff happened, people lost their money and things and that. So because of thing we create the perception regarding about the entire social media that this is wrong, because in some part of social media people use it very wrongly. So that's why we kind of like create entire perception regarding about this thing, that social media is a wrong, social media is a wrong. Get it? If you still not really understand, I'm kind of like something give you another example. Okay, by the way, this example is only for Indian people. Okay, yeah, like people who are actually in India. Okay, yeah. What do you think about Pakistan? Okay, yeah. Like, is it kind of like a really peaceful country, or is it kind of like a violence country? Most of the Indian people would say that no, this is very violence country. Okay, yeah. If I ask same question to the Pakistani people, says that is India is very peaceful country or violence country, they might gonna say no, India is very violence country. Why people say that thing? Why? You haven't really went to India, you haven't really went to Pakistan, but still why we create this perception, why we create this reality? Why? Because the way that social media is showing to me, the way that kind of like a internet or everything is actually showing to me that this is wrong and this is wrong, this is wrong. That's why I create the entire perception regarding about Pakistan is a violence country. That's why Pakistan people are actually create the perception regarding about India is actually kind of like a violence country and things like that. Dude, we don't really have time to look at the fact and things like that. We kind of like judge regarding about what kind of like others say, and we just started believing that, and that is true. That is really true. Okay, do you get it? So basically is this thing now, is social media is kind of like a predict your future? Yes, it can. It can predict your future, that what kind of like a product that you want, what kind of like a product that you will gonna buy, what kind of like a somebody the stuff that you can search on this, and they actually control you. Because let me tell you one thing, in almost like an entire day you actually spend almost like a more than 5 hour on internet. I actually spend how many time, like basically I spend almost like an entire day on internet. I watch a lot of YouTube videos, like basically OTT platform. I kind of like assembly. I didn't really use that much Instagram, by the way, but sometimes I just kind of like assembly, like I kind of like assembly upload my content on social media platforms. So I just looked at somewhere thing, but I access YouTube a lot. Okay, yeah, I watch OTT a lot. Okay, yeah, in YouTube platform, I kind of like watch bunch of video regarding about the geopolitics and science and things like that and stuff like that. Let me tell you one thing. In my entire 24 hour of time, okay, yeah, I kind of like a sleep for like let's just say 7 hour, okay, yeah, and rest of the hour means like that. Let's just say 8 hours. So remaining how much? Like basically like 16 hour, okay, yeah. So there is 16 hour is actually remaining. Within a 16 hour, I spend 10 hour on internet. 10 hour internet. Okay, yeah, by the way, I use internet for kind of like a only very rightful thing. Like basically, I watch this and that. I just kind of like spend half an hour on Brilliant application. Like a Brilliant is also kind of like only learning things like a Elevate or kind of like a Duolingo. These are kind of like some this micro learning application. I spend time on that thing. Yeah, basically, I'm aware of that, so I'm utilizing my time for kind of like actually making me productive. So that's why I'm kind of like utilizing internet for right way, right? Yeah, but I am not a kind of like a somebody. Not everyone kind of like utilize internet for that right way. Most of people actually utilizing internet for wrong purposes. They are scrolling internet all the time, and you actually seen them. You actually seen them, and that's a like every second person actually doing it. That, by the way, every person doing it that, not second, every person actually doing it that. My father is actually scrolling internet all the time and things like that. So basically what I'm trying to tell you is this thing: the user are very vulnerable regarding about who do you trust. Okay, yeah. And because of the way that kind of like a negative information that I'm getting, we are kind of like creating the entire perception regarding about the social media is really wrong. But after all those things, we still use social media and things like that. Okay, in this world, there is no right, there is no wrong. There is like basically is this thing now we just create this kind of like this is reality that something is wrong and something is right. But in world there is no right and wrong. There is nothing really at all. Like basically is this thing, each person, each sequence, each situation has something, two faces. One face that we seen, another face we haven't really seen, and that is that. Probably. Now regarding about the question, if the social media can predict the future, what would be that reality? Obviously, if social media could predict the future, then what would be that? Ki the entire action actually depends on kind of like some is this thing that ki what kind of like a food that you gonna eat, pizza or salad, depends on like basically I just kind of like looked at the social media, kind of like a look at that. Oh, in social media platform, like tomorrow I might gonna eat salad, so probably tomorrow I might gonna eat salad. So who is actually deciding? Okay, yeah, are you deciding or social media deciding? Okay, yeah, one thing. Another thing is that let's just say that within a year you might gonna broke, you might not gonna pay any kind of like a credit card bill. So social media kind of like know that particular information. They actually sell that information to the kind of like a credit card company, and no one kind of like give you any kind of like a credit card and things like that, because they already knew that within a year you might kind of like suddenly not gonna pay any kind of like a debt, credit card debt and things like that. Or maybe kind of like let's just imagine that you might gonna do kind of like something very wrong thing, like let's just say you kind of like hurt somebody or things like that in the future and things like that. Social media already knew that particular thing. So social media kind of like take to the government, say that this person kind of like do the something really wrong thing and things like that, he would kind of do the violence and things like that. So basically your charges against the kind of like a crime that you will gonna do in the future. Okay, yeah. So like if I'm kind of like a look at that kind of like a possibility, this would be a possibility still. Like I'm trying to go into the kind of like a only very imagined point of perspective, but yeah, what exactly is this thing? I don't know, dude. I'm really tired to talk right now. All right, so this is it. This is my opinion regarding about all this information and stuff like that. And thank you.